Hi, Jeff. Okay, I'm back. Is this better, guys? Hi, Lord Humongous. Hi, Rick. Hello. SAC Media. Can you guys hear me? Everything clear? It's not freezing, is it? Better so far. Okay, good. Yeah, so I changed the title of this live stream, Recession Dead Ahead, and I think it is. All the stories I'm reading, they are concerned. I think the powers that be. Hi, Marcia. Nice to see you here. Yeah, it's better. I don't know why the image, the stream was freezing. Pablo Pina, don't mention JP Morgan. It's funny because JP Morgan Asset Management, one of their investments, one of their ships was raided in Philadelphia, and they're carrying over $1 billion of cocaine, and it's not really gone too viral. They've kept it really quiet, that story. Are we getting digital? You mean like cashless society? Yeah, probably. I mean, it's been an evolution over the centuries, I think. You had first coinage, and then they got you to paper, and then they got rid of the coins, the gold and silver coins. And they got into paper, and then into checks, debit cards. That's where they're trying to drive people, but it doesn't mean to say that you can't protect yourself with precious metals or something alternative, even cryptocurrencies. Lord Among Us says interference by Rothschild wanting his royalty on your T-shirt with gold bar on it, Mara. Well, I have that gold bar, and I took a photo of it. I think they don't really. They're not in the. They don't do any more minting. Rothschild. They're not in the business anymore. I don't think I'm sold enough yet to for them to come after me. John the Glass. Hi, John the Glass. Jeff Brown says, I wonder about the Epstein affair, pictures being removed from Google. Yeah, I recommend people go Google Epstein's little black book. I think Zero Hedge published it, and I saved it, and I went through it, and it's amazing. It's all full of the one percenters, like British aristocracy, very top level Americans, French, nobles, and all that kind of people. Epstein or Epstein, whatever way you want to pronounce it. It is a German name, so it would be Epstein, but a lot of people pronounce it Epstein. Couch Potatoes, Kennedy, do you think the Fed might be stuck trying to talk up the dollar, yet lowering interest rates? Yeah, I'm not sure. The Fed always says that they're not. Their goal is not to, maintain the value of the dollar. That's for the U.S. Treasury. I think everyone wants their currency weak. But unfortunately, they're fiat currencies. Unfortunately, you can't have that. You can't, because if the dollar weakens, then the Europeans are going to want a weaker euro, and then the Chinese are going to, and it's a race to the bottom. The only currency that they can really devalue against and help everyone would be gold. That's why I think it's really important more than ever to hold on to your gold and silver and add on if you can. Zoltan asks, Why can Fed prevent from dropping the longer term yields? Well, the longer term rates, the longer term bonds are more controlled by the market. The Fed has more control of short-term interest rates, but they could affect long-term yields if they start doing QE and start buying longer-term bonds. So yeah, no that in the air, calm before the storm. Yeah, that is possible. Christine Lagarde got a new job. Yeah, talking about the new digital economy. Yeah, and I think Christine Lagarde is going to also be very loose in terms of monetary policy. I think that's where all the central banks are going. But I think it's still, yeah, that's why you need to protect yourself with precious metals because, you notice with young people, they almost don't use cash anymore. They use their, contactless cards or debit cards. And it's easier for the banks to keep things going. But gold has been taken out of the system a lot over the last few hundred years, but it's still very important. So SAC Media, wouldn't purchasing three dogs and a camper. SAC Media, wouldn't purchasing ETFs after a crash be a good idea? I currently drip feed each month. It depends what kind of ETFs. There are ETFs on loads of instruments, commodities. I guess you mean you need to work out where the thing. Three dogs and a camper. Thank you for the super chat. And he says, thank you for your work. Three dogs and a camper. Jeff Brown, this weekend I've been watching YouTube videos of Professor Richard Werner. Yeah, I have listened to him as well. He's got some interesting views. I don't agree with all the things he says, but very interesting. He talks a lot about Japan, how prior to the 80s, Japan did very well in the post-war era. And they actually had something called guided monetary policy or guided credit policy. That's where the Bank of Japan decided where the credit was going to go, which industries. And it was run like a wartime economy, Japan, up until the 80s. And it did really well. Wartime economy in peacetime. I'm more for free market economies, but I have an open mind. I think he's very interesting, Professor Richard Werner. I recommend him as well. I've made videos about him a few months ago. Your opinion, Pablo, your opinion with Trump stating Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are not money and will hit the top 10 crypto this. Well, I don't think Trump knows much about money because he said the United States dollar is going to be the strongest currency forever. And we don't even have a United States dollar anymore. What we have is a Federal Reserve note. And the Federal Reserve note has been losing value against gold for decades. I tweeted out today because I've got here a $20 gold coin. So that's what it was worth, $20. It's just under an ounce of gold. But back in, this coin is from 1904 or 1908. Back then, $1 was 1.5 grams of gold. That was $1. Well, this is about 31 grams of gold. But now, one Federal Reserve note, so you get 0.02 grams of gold. So the Federal Reserve note is gone down. Gold has gone up, or the real dollar, which is a weight of gold, has gone up 68 times against the Federal Reserve note. So I don't think Donald Trump knows what he's talking about. Excuse me. There are some cryptos and altcoins which are complete rubbish. I agree, but I think, yeah, I think he's wrong. You know, Jamie Dimon made some comments about Bitcoin a few years ago, and Bitcoin just kept going up. Annabelle asking a question again. Definitely long-term gold, but we see buy gold all over YouTube at the moment. We might be wrong. Well, yeah, Annabella, I've been recommend, you know, I've, you know, for me, anytime I have extra fiat savings, I try to get some gold. So yeah, and unless you really need the to spend the money or the gold, you've got an emergency. Unless you have that, I personally wouldn't sell. It's just like savings. So why would you liquidate your savings if you don't need it? And that's the way I look at it. Marcia is she's from Brazil. She said in Portuguese, she thinks that if you buy XRP or Ripple and keep it for 3 years, it will go up in value against, I guess, the British pound or the dollar. That's possible. XRP. So are the other cryptocurrencies. John the Glass, can you see gold dropping before a big rise? Yeah, anything is possible, John. But we've had this bottoming in gold for the last 6 years. We've basically been trading between 1375 and 1050. And I think this breakout we've had in the last month or so is quite significant. So yes, I'm sure a lot of people are waiting to get in gold, but at a lower price, but they might not be able to. I guess if you're a trader, maybe buy some puts, stay long the futures, protect it like that. But if you're like me, just holding on, I don't care. You know, even if we go down $100 or about 80 pounds, I'll probably just add on. Douglas Hull, is that how you pronounce your name? Hull. My Billy pillow is awesome, by the way. All right. Instroflux, what are your views on the new Facebook coin, the Libra? Well, I don't think it's a cryptocurrency. I don't think it's decentralized. So yeah, I think, and I see that central banks are interested in it. Central banks like the Bank of England. So yeah, I don't really like it. It's not. You see, Facebook has a head office, so cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, EOS, Steam, they don't have head offices. It's very decentralized, even though some would probably argue that EOS is not as decentralized, but that's another story. Simon, Dow Gold ratio. Yeah, I think I've been looking at the Dow Gold ratio the last few weeks. It looks like we're forming a head and shoulder and that we're going to go lower. I think we're just above 19. The top was around 22. I think it's going to keep going lower. So I think gold is going to outperform. Stephen 1000, do you think they will confiscate gold in the UK? Unless they change the law, because gold sovereigns are legal tender. So unless they change the law, I don't think they will. So no. They could put capital controls, though. In the 60s and up until 1979, you could only buy 6 sovereigns a year. So they might do that. But if you add on to it before they do that, I think you'll be okay. Crypto Cat, Do you think silver is a better buy than gold given the ratio? Um, yeah, but we've been thinking that since the ratio was at 80 and now we're like at 92. So who knows? It could go higher. But in the long term, yeah, silver always is. I think Jim Sinclair calls silver the gold on steroids. So yes, it will catch up. Jason Kim, any thoughts on debt jubilee? Yeah, that's a possibility. I think it was Jim Sinclair and Bill Holter were saying in that interview with I think it was Greg Hunter. If you're gonna have a debt jubilee, you have to do it for everyone. But the other way to write off the debt is to inflate it away, i.e., to do a reset with gold. That would do it too. No thumbs up time. Okay, it's good. We've got almost 200 people here. That's pretty good. Even though I had to end the other stream and start another one. I'm not sure why it was freezing. I read something as well. I think it was someone from Morgan Stanley talking about why they think there's going to be a recession. So there's a lot of people talking about recession risks. I think we're already in a recession. And this analyst mentioned that the fact that the gold silver ratio is so high is an indicator of recession. I guess silver has more, how can I say, industrial use. So the fact that gold is outperforming silver means that there's probably fear of recession. So that's another point there. I haven't really listened too much to Cliff High lately, Douglas. He hasn't been as busy as he used to. Jason Johnson, are you related to Milton Friedman? No, I'm not. No. Charles Patterson, hope you got my message. Australia's in a recession, Mario. I'm in the new house supply business. We're down 50%. Yeah. I mean, when you read about Australia, they said that Australia hasn't had a recession in like 30 years, but there's always a first, you can't keep it going. The other thing I was reading today is that the powers that be are so worried about a recession because they know that if there's a recession, they have very little ammunition. So, they're really, really panicking, in my opinion, and I think it's going to be really bad. And that's why, that's I said, someone complained about that, but that's why I think, we need to be very careful. I just see here, I got a message that Bo Pony's just made a new video. Don't know if any of you guys listen to Bo Pony. Trader 586, what worries me right now is terrible possibility of a flash crash type of move. Yeah, that's very possible. I was listening to Neil Howe. He wrote The Fourth Turning with another guy. Forgot the other guy's name. Strauss. And he had an interview a couple of years ago with McIlvaney Research, I think, on YouTube. And he says that that's the thing that he worries most about is the complacency, the low volatility, and the fact that a lot of people think the markets can never crash anymore and that nothing bad will ever happen again. And I should always be worried about that. Try something vegetarian. How could Trump prevent this recession? I don't think anyone can prevent the recession, not even Trump. Audit the Fed? Yeah, I think the Fed should be audited, but there's just not enough. I think the Congress is too ignorant as a whole to want to audit the Fed. They think the Fed should be left alone. They're very ignorant. I think we should actually end the Fed, not just audit them. But, Ron Paul has tried it, and I think they've tried it on and on. And, they get the bill, they get Congress to look at the bill, but never goes through. And then the Senate also will probably not look at it. Do you believe it will happen as John Exter's pyramid? Couch potato. Yeah, John Exter is someone that I've followed his work for the last 15 years plus. Yeah, it will probably happen like his pyramid. Everything will flow to the bottom of the pyramid. I think it will. Yeah, I think it will. And the other thing about John Exter, he was actually a central banker. He was actually the guy who helped create the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, or Ceylon, as they used to call it back then in the 50s. He worked for the New York Fed. He was very well connected. So he knew what he was talking about. And he was, I think he died maybe about 8 years ago or so. I'm not sure. But yeah, he started buying gold in the 60s. Jeff Brown, what do you think about Bill Holter and Jim Sinclair's opinion that Trump will let the U.S. go bankrupt? Well, countries don't go bankrupt. Well, some countries do, but I think what will happen is that he's just going to trash the dollar. Well, he's going to trash the Federal Reserve notes, because the dollar, as we know, this is $20, and it will always be, in my opinion. It's just under an ounce of gold. So that's what will happen. They will. That's how they will do it. They can just print and print, and they will. Yeah, but if you are going to have some kind of reorganization, they think Trump is the guy to do it, because he's gone bankrupt. Not him, but his firms and companies have gone bankrupt many times. I think his father had to bail him out as well. Marcia says Bank of England conference. El Tomo, thank you for the super chat. He says, good evening, Mario. Still ironing my yellow vest, stacking gold since following your channel. Thank you for all the knowledge. Oh, you're welcome. I saw today a headline that there are a lot of protests in Paris for the 14th of July. That's their Bastille Day, or is the equivalent of the 4th of July, that there were big protests of the yellow vests. But don't see too much of that in the, how can I say, mainstream media. Marcia Smith is asking in Portuguese, can you explain the process of Brexit? What's GCR? Not sure. Oh, Libor. Well, Marcia is asking about Libor. Well, Libor is just a reference price for a lot of derivatives contracts, hundreds of trillions of derivatives, and they're going to start using other references. So, for example, when let's say General Electric calls Goldman Sachs and they want to write they want a derivative, a swap for 5 years. So Goldman Sachs says, yeah, I will lend you this paper, at 5-year T-note yield, or no, Libor. I will lend it to you at Libor plus 50 basis points. So it's just used as an indicator for a lot of contracts. And I think, there are people who think in 2021, and when Libor is taken out of the system, that there will be big problems. There could, but I think it's been going on for many years already, Libor. I actually used to, when I was a futures and options broker, uh, one of my clients worked for Citibank, and he in London, he set the dollar Libor rate every day. So, and up, a few years after the crisis, I was still talking to him. He said, Mario, these Libor rates don't mean anything anymore. So I'm not sure if it's going to be a huge problem. And I think it's just a matter of like rolling over. Instead of using Libor, they have like a Federal Reserve indicator now. I forgot the name of it. So yeah. But yeah, there could be accidents. That's right. So who knows? Oh, it's still pretty early. No, do you think it's rate cuts forever at the Fed? Yeah, rate cuts forever or low rates forever, because there comes a point where they can't cut anymore, but I don't think they can raise anymore that much. When they started raising rates and doing the quantitative tightening, it was even, Janet Yellen who said, oh, it's going to be like watching paint dry. We're going to normalize everything. And she was completely wrong, because they can never normalize. It's like, a drug junkie. Unless he goes cold turkey, he can never stop, and he will eventually, die. So that's where the system is right now, in my opinion. Are they going to blame Deutsche Bank collapse? They're going to blame as well. They keep talking about, in my opinion, this unconventional and fiat money, low interest rates, money printing. That's what it's all about. Captain Nemo says, I keep freezing. So I'm not sure why it's freezing. Yeah, silver is cheap. Scott, I do think it's cheap. Let's see if I close some of my windows here, if that makes a difference. Is that better? Philip A, are altcoins dead in comparison to Bitcoin? I don't think so. They're just going through a bad patch. Pad, late joining. Keep up the good work. Still listen every day. Loading up on silver this week. Thank you, Pad. Oh, it's okay now. Good. Good time to buy Bitcoin? Yeah, I think so. I'm not advising anyone, but yeah, I've got quite a bit, not that much. I've got still more EOS, but I got a good position of Bitcoin. I might even buy some more, hopefully. But I'm sticking, of course, I've got a lot more gold and silver. Bitcoin is more speculative for me, and the other cryptocurrencies. I actually think, the blockchain could be like a new engine for the internet. Some of you might not think, but I think there's a good chance. El Tomo EOS taking a severe beating. Yeah, but so are all the other altcoins. Yeah, Bitcoin has outperformed all the altcoins quite a bit. The root document. Hi, Charles. Can you just put a link to it here? Canada 2016. I did watch Jim Sinclair and Greg Hunter. Jim Sinclair and Bill Holter. Yeah, it was interesting interview. Marcia Smith thinks the white hats control the earth. They probably do. A lot of this stuff, I think Epstein or Epstein, whatever you want to call him, a lot of it is distraction. And that's why I personally, it's really interesting to speculate and, oh, who's involved with Epstein but we need to keep an eye on the markets and and what's going on and protect ourselves and do what we need to do. Reverend Tacos Entertainment. No way recession dead ahead. Trump is making America greater again. Dow 50,000. Well, the Caracas Stock Exchange a few years ago was the best performing stock exchange, just because they had hyperinflation, Reverend. And it's not me saying that recession's dead ahead. It's like the New York Fed, J.P. Morgan, Bank of England, the yield curve. I don't think Trump can stop a recession. Yeah, I spoke in my earlier live stream that the New York Fed indicator, New York Federal Reserve Bank indicator for recession is at 32, and since 1960, when that indicator was at 30 or more, there's always been a recession. Why do you think, Reverend, why do you think they're so worried and they want to cut rates? Because there's a recession. I love Jalala. Can you talk a bit about Italian mafia? I know as much as you guys do, probably just from watching the movies. That's all I know. I think the Italian mafia, there's loads of mafia. It's not only Italian. I think I think a great movie about the mafia is Once Upon a Time. See that there are other ethnic groups that are involved in the underworld. All right. I'll take a few more questions and then I'll call it a day. Well, let's see. How long have we been on? Well, I'll do another 15 minutes if you guys want to ask some questions. Try something vegetarian. No, you're welcome. Pat says, did you see Greg Hunter, Martin Armstrong interviewed today? Very strange talk coming pull back to 1360. Then later up this year, I agree. I haven't listened to it, but I saw on my YouTube page that he did interview Martin Armstrong. I have to say, I followed Martin Armstrong. I started following him back in like 05, 07 when he was still in prison. And the stuff he wrote back then was much more interesting. Yeah. So I've gone off Martin Armstrong ever since he got out of prison. Frozen again, yeah? Mm. Okay. Yeah, maybe the internet connection here is not good, but it should be good. It's usually quite good. What's going on in England? I think England won the Cricket World Cup, but not much else. That's right. Dano 1000, keeping his mouth shut might have been part of his release terms. Yeah, that's why I don't really follow him anymore. Oh, goodbye, Lord Humongous. Take care. Uh, Ups Observator. Do you know? Yeah, I've listened to Charles Nenner's interviews with Greg Hunter. He's a good analyst, cycles analyst. Don't know what he. Well, he did say something about Deutsche Bank. I mean, Deutsche Bank. Um, yeah, it's been like a zombie bank. You know, everyone's been saying, "Oh, Deutsche Bank is going to collapse," and it keeps going. But I think the latest announcement last week, uh, the reaction was good initially, and then it went back down. So yeah, Deutsche Bank is on its last legs. Yeah, Shane, I agree with you. England, UK already in a recession. Yeah, Billy is having a good sleep. He's on the he's jumped off the sofa. He's here with me. I guess you guys can hear him snoring. All right, two more questions and then I'm gonna go because it's getting late. So I'll take the question. Euro is in big trouble, right? I'm not around 1 to 1. It went to as high as $1.60 and now is around 112. So in the last 19 years, the euro is actually up against the dollar. So I mean, there's all this talk about the euro being in trouble, but it's still holding on. Monu Jabber, gold at 6,000 ounces, 2020. My word, mark my words. Well, that would be good. Scott, the board, my son's trying to talk me into cryptocurrency, but I'd rather keep my money in precious metals. Should I get my feet wet in cryptos? Do a little bit of research and see what you think. You know, read all you can or listen to all the videos. But yeah, keeping your precious metals is not bad at all. Where do I see crude oil prices going? Yeah, I mean they've gone up a little bit of late. I have to say I think they're going to drop because it's difficult with crude oil. There's a few things, you know, if the stock market keeps going up, it will probably keep going up. And then there's the geopolitics in the Persian Gulf. So it's difficult to say. I don't really focus too much on crude oil. But one thing I wanted to say, though, before I go, check out iron ore futures and look at the chart of iron ore. Iron ore is going, in the last year, has gone parabolic. And it's very important, iron ore. And why is it doing that if we're going into a recession? Could it be a sign that people are losing faith and confidence in fiat currencies? Who knows? So with that, I'm going to say good night to everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are. Good morning. And I'll talk to you tomorrow in my video. I wish you all a great rest of the weekend. Thanks for showing up. I'm sorry about the internet connection or the freezing. Don't know what happened. Take care. Bye.